I spoke to a friend of mine the other day. She works as a manager in a small company, and while talking about her managerial job, she said this: "Sometimes I wonder, why did I do this to my life?" And I have a lot to say about it. It's not that I'm often asked if a person needs to pursue leadership career or not, but I see a lot of managers, and many of them chose to do it and loved it or regretted it. So let's have a conversation here, okay? If you're watching this video and you're thinking about a leadership career, here is my honest advice. First and foremost, you need to know your choices. What are you choosing from? As many of us, at some point of your career, maybe you were suggested a promotion to a managerial position. But the alternative of that is not the absence of career development altogether. It's an alternative career path. So first, let's talk about the difference between the career of manager and the career of expert and see which one is for you. First, let's talk about managers. And I really like the analogy that manager is kind of like a conductor in the orchestra. So you have a team, oftentimes a team of experts, and your job is to orchestrate their work while trusting their expertise. I'm a manager myself, I'm biased, take this with a grain of salt, but I think that leadership career can be very exciting and rewarding. As a manager, you will have more power to make a change that you believe in. You'll be able to do things at a larger scale. And aside from that, managers are usually paid better, and it's kind of a socially acceptable career if this is important for you. If you think that you're good at strategic thinking, if you're capable of communicating with other people clearly, and if you have a decent emotional intelligence, this is fantastic. You have the main skills to be successful at the managerial job. Of course, there are many drawbacks in a leadership career, and the first one is the pressure, the stress. You are not only responsible for yourself, but often responsible for other people, and it is pressuring. In general, as a manager, your kind of responsibility level is higher. You're responsible for unobvious things like your team culture or resolving a conflict sometimes. The level of stakeholder management that you will need to do is like on steroids. Stakeholder management is when you take a steak, you stab it with a fork, and then you hold it. Finally, managerial job is often about changes all the time. We cannot afford as managers to be too resistant for change. And sometimes it is uncomfortable. Now, the thing is, not everyone would be successful at this job. And even more than that, not everyone would enjoy this nature of a job. Although we're all kind of pushed to pursue managerial career because in many cultures, in many countries, it is kind of considered as the right career path and the only career option. Now, being a manager is not the only way for you to develop your career, and the alternative is what is usually called a path of an expert. By the way, both are very important. Businesses only thrive with both managers and experts. There are many people who are enjoying a different path. So if managers, in my analogy, were conductors, experts are like scientists. Instead of managing others, what they do is they dive into the area, they deepen their knowledge, they tackle complicated, deep problems within their field of expertise. These are the people who enjoy intellectual stimulation, and they derive satisfaction from their work when they are immersed in a certain domain of knowledge. Their focus is on mastery. They are trusted advisors and innovators in their companies. Experts usually don't manage teams and mostly focus on their individual contribution. But of course, there are drawbacks of experts' job as well. So for example, you can feel a little bit isolated. You don't have that much collaboration sometimes. Also, because you sometimes face challenges that no one else faced before, it requires some level of internal courage to tackle a very hard task, which is a super important quality for an expert. And of course, in a corporate world where the default career track is usually managerial one, there is a chance that you will face less career opportunities than people who decided to pursue managerial career. I see many managers who took a managerial role at some point, but when you talk to them, you actually sense that they would rather enjoy a role of an expert. And they did it not because they wanted, but sometimes maybe because no one told them that this is even an option. Or what also happens often is your manager has an open position of a team lead, and because you're a talented expert, you're kind of gently, sometimes not gently, pushed to occupy this position. So this is a moment where I want you to ask yourself two questions. Number one, what are the qualities that I'm naturally good at? What are the things that you know about yourself, that your peers or managers or your friends highlight in you? And do these qualities fit better into a description of a manager or an expert? It's a little bit like a compatibility test. If you will decide to take this career, do you have skills that most likely will make you successful there or not? But that's not the only thing I want you to focus on. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what are the things that I like to do more? Because even if you have a very good skill set to be a manager, and there is a high chance that you would be very successful, what's the point of that if you just don't want to? Stop looking at others. Stop listening to others telling you what is the right career, because there is no such thing as a right career. It all costs nothing when it comes to your choices for your life. Think yourself what fulfills you more and decide yourself for yourself. Now let's talk about why do you need a leadership career? Because it's not easy. And many of us asking ourselves the big question of why did we do this to our lives? Sometimes every day, sometimes for many years. But that's not the point. The point is, what do we answer to this question? And to answer it, you need to know your why. If you answer any challenge in your life without a clear knowing of why do you do it in the first place, it will be harder, there is a lower chance of success and a lower chance that you would actually enjoy the thing. So here's where I need you to ask yourself, why the hell do I wanna do this? Do I have a vision of what I want to change in the world? That's why I want a leadership career, to be able to make this change. Do I just enjoy working as an orchestrator of others and it's just some thing that brings me happiness and joy? What is that thing that you want to achieve? And here's where many of you can tell me, money. And this may be true, but money is just a mean, and many of us have a deeper desire behind it. So if you have 100 people who are telling you, I do this job for the money, when you will ask them more about it, the underlying reason can be very different. For example, do you want a sense of a stability that comes with money, a sense of security, a certain peace of mind? Or maybe for you, money is something that brings freedom from something and independence in your life. For some people, money is about a prestige, the feeling of power, a feeling of success in life. Or maybe, like money is something that will finally make your parents to be proud of you. Is it maybe a daily comfort and the luxury life? Or maybe I know people who have a goal of creating a generational wealth for them and for their kids and grandkids. Or maybe money is your main objective right now because you need to support your loved ones. Why am I asking you all this and give you all of these examples? Because often when we don't think about the underlying reason behind why we're striving for something, it is harder for us to think about other ways how we could achieve it. I will give you one example. Some people are pursuing managerial career to earn more money because this what gives them like a piece of mind in their life, although they don't know that managerial job can be that stressful that no amount of money will compensate for that. And maybe if they would pick a career of an expert, they will be in much more peace with themselves, even if there is a chance that they would earn less. But if you don't think about it, if you don't contemplate about what is your underlying reason why you need money, for example, it will be harder for you to think about your career choices from this particular lens. Now, here's what I want to do. If I imagine that I talk to myself a little bit before I took my very first managerial job, these are the few additional things I would tell her. First, leadership career can be very different and you don't have to repeat the same career track or the same attitude to work that all of your managers had. Sometimes we're just unfortunate with the role models and we don't even think that managerial career can be sustainable, can be healthy, can be enjoyable. It can be a feel-good career. There are some limitations of being a manager that is very hard to avoid. For example, there is a chance that you will not have the same level of connection with your team as you would have with your peers or someone else who also have experience of being a manager. It's not black and white, of course, and you can maintain a very good relationship with your team, but it will be different and it is okay. You bring value to your team not only through being their bro and a friend, but also through sometimes giving them constructive feedback and sometimes having uncomfortable conversations with them. But this is how you help them grow in the end. And finally, the higher you get, the more alone you sometimes feel with your challenges. That's why keeping a connection with managers at your level, or maybe 1 or 2 levels above you, is extremely important. Some of these connections you will cherish and keep throughout your whole working career. By the way, if you're already a manager, it may be interesting for you to know that at some point, many of us start managing other managers. I made a video with a full guide exactly about this, so check it out if you like. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.